Genesis chapter 45, verse 5. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves that you sold me here, for God did send me before you to preserve life. Pay attention to that word, before you. For these 2 years have the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years in which there shall neither be earing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now it was not you that sent me here, but God. And he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. All right. That's Joseph's words to his brothers. After a very long process of his brothers throwing him in a pit and basically disowning him and disarming him and hurting him, all for it to, in the long run, God be with him the whole time. And he went from the pit to Potiphar's house, to prison, to being second in command of all of Egypt, just for a drought to come, a famine to come into the land of Egypt. And those same brothers who years and years ago threw him in that pit are now coming to Egypt, where he is second in command and ruler over all the stuff. And yet his brothers are coming to buy stuff because they're starving and there's a famine in the land. And yet the brother that they threw in the pit and left for dead is now in charge of the land. And then he says these words: Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves that you sold me here, for God did send me before you to preserve life. I need you to see that before you, and I need you to see the picture. They put Joseph in the pit, but they put him in the pit. They went back home. He went from the pit to Potiphar's house, to prison, to second in charge. And then they came to Egypt. Now it says, God sent me before you to preserve. I need you to literally see that he literally went before them. And in other words, it don't matter what God used. Do you not know that even when God was using prisons and downfalls and addictions and all of that, he was still progressing you? It was still forward progress, even when it didn't feel like it. And sometimes it takes a while for you got to hit a certain point to then from that point you're able to look back and be like, you know what? It was good for me that I've been afflicted. You know what? It was a bumpy ride, but I've made it further on this bumpy ride than the people who crossed me. It was a bumpy ride, but I got more wisdom than the people who wasn't on a bumpy ride. And so he says, you didn't even send me. God sent me. Joseph understands the verse. There's a verse in the Bible that says, nothing on heaven or in earth can happen unless God allows it. We don't like to preach that verse when it comes to trouble. But yeah, if you was addicted to drugs, God allowed it. If someone died in your family, God allowed it. Joseph, if your brothers threw you in a pit, God allowed it. Because that's the thing. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. God controls it all. So he can stop the weapon from prospering. And so if a weapon did prosper against you, if something did happen against you, that means God allowed it. And if he allowed it, it's working for your good. And yet that's a hard thing to swallow. But sometimes you got to just live a bit longer until you're able to realize, you know what? It worked for my good. I didn't like the jail time, but it worked for my good. I didn't like those rock bottoms, but it worked for my good. It taught me something. It gave me something that the rest don't have. It made me stand out. It made me think different. It made me pray different. It made me be able to persevere. It got me comfortable in my own skin so I can wear what I want to wear, say how I want to say it, preach how I want to preach, do what I want to do, because I no longer have to worry about fitting in, because I done stood out or been kicked out so many times that fitting in feels foreign. I'm fine with standing out. I'm fine with being different. Matter of fact, that's my comfort zone now after the life that I've lived. And yet, God allowed it. When I say God allowed it, I need you to hear, that's how God wanted it. Joseph, you can't be, there's no reason to be mad at the system or the police that put you in the jail. There's no reason to be mad at the person who snitched on you. There's no reason to be mad at your brothers who threw you in a pit, because your God allowed it, which means your God gave the okay. When you're in the mob and such, it's not the person who's pointing the gun at you. It's the person who gave the okay. That's the reason this person is pointing the gun at you. And yet I need you to see, whatever happened in your life, good, bad, or ugly, it's not that God didn't sign off on it. Nothing on earth or in heaven can happen unless God allows it. And so I'm sorry, He didn't make it happen. He didn't force you to do drugs, but He allowed it. He didn't give them the idea to throw you in the pit. It wasn't His plan, because His thoughts and His plans are for peace and to prosper you, but He still allowed it. Job, He's not the devil that took your family or wiped out your cattle and your substance in a day. He's not the devil who did it, Job. But He did allow it. And that's a hard thing to preach. And yet, if you live long enough, that hard thing to preach, that hard pill to swallow, will also be a place of great praise, a place of great thanks. You hit a certain point in life where you're able to realize the thing that I used to blame, the thing that I used to be angry at, the thing that I used to say, if it wasn't for this, I'd be great, and I'd be there. If it wasn't for these parents and this situation, and if this didn't, my brother didn't die. And it's like then you hit a certain point of wisdom, you hit a certain point of maturity, you hit a certain point of life where you understand God allowed it. It didn't always feel good, but He was working it for my good, and it was good for me that I've been afflicted. It was good. He loved me. That's why He chastened me so sorely. He let me go through the furnace of affliction so that I can come out this version. If you take away the pain, you take away the bad, you take away the times you bumped your head, you know what else you take away? You take away your wisdom. You take away your personality. You take away everything that is you if you take away the bad. Stop praying away the bad. You need some of that bad to mold you and refine you and make you different, make you think different, make you comfortable with being different. And above all, it's time. I'm preaching this message because it is time. You're about to see things come full circle. Not just in my life, but in your life. You're about to see things come full circle in your own life. You're about to see things that you were once not understanding. You're about to get some more understanding because you're about to see some more life. You're about to have some more experiences. You're about to see a brand new God did that. I know God did that. And it's going to change the way that you see the past. You're about to hit that maturity mark. You're about to hit that point in time, that set place where nothing is ever the same again. Not even how I look at myself or my story. God does not want you living your entire life being mad at your past. God doesn't want you living your entire life looking back, still blaming your parents. God doesn't want you living your entire life looking back, still having all of these regrets and feeling like the victim and all of this. It says that we overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony. God says too many of my people are not okay with the words of their testimony. And if you're not okay with it, chances are you're not telling it because you don't even like it. God says we're about to change that. And whenever you see him work all things together for your good, and whenever you see that thing that you were once hiding and regretting, that thing that was once a ugly place, will be the same place where you take off your shoes and you say, this is a holy place. This is the house of God, and I didn't know it. I was mad at my brothers, but I didn't understand that God allowed it. I was so angry at the people who hurt me or touched me or hurt me or did me wrong or crossed me or kicked me out the group. But I didn't understand that God allowed it. He didn't make them do it, but he allowed it. And the reason he allowed it is because he had a plan for me even before they put their hands on me, even before they put their mouth on me, even before they were talking bad about me, even before they crossed me, even before the knife went in my back. God already had a plan for me. And even what they did is working for my good. And matter of fact, let's go deeper. Matter of fact, not only is it working for my good, but I'm ahead of them. I'm ahead of the people who crossed me. I'm ahead of the people who lost me. I'm ahead of the people who tried to put their foot on my neck or their knife in my back. And Joseph says, God sent me before you to preserve life. Remember with the picture, he's literally went before them. And then it says, for these 2 years have the famine been in the land. True statement. And yet there are 5 years in which there shall be neither earing nor harvest. In other words, he's saying there's been 2 years of famine that we've already gone through. And then he tells them, and there's going to be 5 more. They came because after this 2 years of famine, they were so beaten. And here they come, trying to get out in front of their money going down, trying to get out in front of their family's house going down, trying to get out in front of their stomachs grumbling. And yet the person who they left behind, the person who they kicked in the ditch, is already in front of, is already out in front of the thing that they're still trying to get in front of. I need you to see that. Joseph said, y'all put me in the pit. But God actually, it was God putting me in the pit. It was God allowing it because he was sending me before y'all. So that whenever you get there, I've already been there. So that whenever you're still trying to get out in front of this thing, I'm already ahead of this thing. Not because I'm that good, but because my God's that good. Not because I had this great plan, but because my God had this great plan that even included your ugly plan for me. But he has still worked even your ugly plan for me for my good. To the point where I'm not mad at you or what you did. And not only that, but I'm not under the thing that you're under. There was a time whenever you put me under you and I was in the pit and you were up there. But now the tables have turned and now I'm not under that thing that you're under. And in fact, I'm here to get you out. In fact, God used even what you did to me and he worked it in such a way that I still made it here better than you. I still made it here with more than you. I still made it here. And when I say better and more, I'm talking about even in my heart. Y'all did me ugly. And here I am about to do y'all good. The Bible says, return evil for evil to no man. You know that you really have hit that place of maturity, not just when you make peace with your past, but also when you make peace with the people in your past that did you wrong. Joseph is at such a place of, I know who I am. I know who God is. I know what all of this was about. I'm no longer lost. I'm no longer angry. I'm no longer wondering, God, why me, why me, why me? Joseph is at a place where he understands, no, it had to be me. My brother wouldn't have had the heart to bless the other brothers. I did. It had to be me. My brother wouldn't have been able to, my other brother wouldn't have been able to make it through the prison, but I did. The other brother would have started acting up the minute the baker and the cook forgot about them. I need you to see Joseph is so at peace with everything because he knows his God. And he has seen his God's hand in this to the point where I'm no longer angry at it. I've seen what my God is doing even with what you did to me. I'm at peace with it. Not only that, but he literally is on top of the thing they're trying to get out of. I need you to see how those tables turned. It all started with them putting him in a ditch, literally a hole, something that they were out of that he couldn't get out of. And now it ends all because of Joseph's God. Now it ends with Joseph already on top of, already outside of the thing, the famine, the drought, the hunger, the lack, the deficit that they're still trying to get out of. And yet Joseph is such the man for the job that instead of stunting where most of us would have stunted, he says, come on, brother. That's how you know you're really at peace. When you can bless the people who left you in pieces. That's how you know you really you understand what God was doing. Whenever you're no longer angry at the way in which he did it. Lord, I know you had to use some devils. I know you had to use some drugs and some addictions. And I know you had to use some backstabbing. I know some abandonment had to come. And I understand that because, Lord, you were giving me so much to make me so much more. You let me go through these more things so that I would become more. And so I'm no longer mad at who the abandonment had to come from because it had to come through somebody. One of them had to be Judas. So I'm not angry with you, Judas. We needed a Judas. And so, Judas, you have such an important role. I'm not mad at you. We needed somebody to play that role. You're Judas. You see what I'm saying? I'm no longer mad at who the abandonment came through. I had to have some form of abandonment so that I can learn what I learned through the abandonment. I had to have some form of heartbreak, so I'm not mad at who the heartbreak came from. I had to have one of y'all betray me, so I'm not mad at who the betrayal came from. I had to have a lot of y'all kick me out of the clique, in the group, and tell me I would never fit in. And it had to happen because I had to become this person who is okay with standing out. And so I'm so at peace. I understand why God let all of this happen to the point where I forgive you. I release you from what you did to me. In fact, thank you. I needed you. And not just you, but above all, I needed God. And now that I have God, and now that he has shown me, and now that I know that I can trust him, and I know that even if more bad things happen, that those bad things are just going to work together for my good too, taking me from faith to faith, glory to glory, and he's just going to continually be going ahead of me so that I can continually be ahead of whatever is plaguing me, whatever devil still thinks it's chasing me. And whatever enemies who are wondering how I feel. Whatever brother that crossed me. And that's why God let it take so long. Because he had to make sure that when all of this gets lined up, that you don't just, you're not just holding the blessing, but you're holding the blessing without holding unforgiveness. And so that's why the road had to be so hard, because God had, let's be real, you didn't have that type of heart when they first threw you in the pit. You didn't have that type of heart when they first raped you. You didn't have that type of heart whenever you first got heartbroken. You didn't have that type of heart whenever they first kicked you out the clique and nobody was talking to you. You didn't have that type of heart whenever they all called you an addict and turned their back on you. But after you've lived a bit longer, and after you've walked with God a bit longer, and now you're this Joseph, now you're this seed, now you're that Ashley, now you're that Krishan, whoever it is, I need you to see there's no reason to hate them. Because if you got any problem with your story, take it up to God. Because nothing on heaven or on earth can happen unless God allowed it. No matter what happened, even if the devil did it, God still signed off on it. I need you to, don't shoot the messenger, but he did. Nothing in your life happened without God giving the okay. Which lets you know that anything in your life that happened is going to end more than okay. Because my God, I already know the thoughts that he thinks towards me, thoughts of peace and thoughts to prosper me and thoughts to give me an expected end. God had your good, peaceful, blessed, expected end in mind way before whoever tried to hurt you had what they had in mind. And so if God let them hurt you, it just means that it was a part of his bigger plan. To the point where you could look back and say, it was good for me that I've been afflicted. It was good for me that they didn't let me sit with them. It was good for me that she broke my heart. Because it all brought about this seed. Alright. I need you to see you're about to be in front of, ahead of, on top of the same thing that the people who counted you out are still stuck in, or are still trying to get out of. Joseph is out in front of, to the point where he already knows that there's going to be 5 more years of famine, because the Holy Spirit, God already showed him that there's going to be 7. And since we already did the 2, Joseph already knows we got 5 more years. His brothers are coming, still beaten and battered just from the 2, have no idea that there's going to be 5 more. And here they come, still just trying to get out in front of these 2. And here comes Joseph. Not only is he ahead of these 2, but he's already got a plan, a good, godly plan for the next 5. That's how God turns tables. That's the expected end that you can prepare and expect from God. The tables are going to turn very fast. In a moment. In a moment, Joseph went from just going through the motions, just doing what he had to do in Egypt for Pharaoh, to, oh shoot, my brothers are here? It's just like that. In a moment, you don't know. But what you can understand is, when you are faced with the thing that turned its back on you, with the thing that put a knife in your back, when you see that thing come full circle, you should just start understanding that this means I'm ready. If God is letting my brothers come back into my vicinity today, it means that I'm ready. It means that I'm ready to bless them. I'm ready to forgive them. I'm ready to be the bigger person. I'm ready for this thing to come full circle, not just for me, but for them. If you want to get even with the people who hurt you, let it come full circle. Not for bad, but for good. The same way God let the bad that they did to you come full circle. Not for bad, but for good. Once again, freely you received, so that freely you could give. God bless.